Hello, Sir David the Bard. I've got Alpha and Omega here on the camera, and I'm sitting in a waiting room for a federal prison officer to come out and get me. The abusive child accuser in Utah reminds me when I lived in Oklahoma. See, they've poisoned me already. It's like the black people testing for syphilis. Anyway, selective enforcement is what I want to talk about today. It's a very serious subject because most of us believe that the Constitution of the United States protects us all equally. That basically each one of us has rights, duties, and obligations and protections. When I lived in Oklahoma, I found some very interesting things about Oklahoma that portray to Utah. Number one, it's against the law to have a gun in a car in Oklahoma. But every good Oklahoman has a pistol under the seat of the front driver's seat. Now, how do they get away with that? It's against the law. Well, if you're driving through and you're on vacation, or you don't wear your garments, or you don't talk like a Okie, or have a belt buckle that covers your tummy, you're a foreigner. So when they pull a foreigner over, or a very, very well-known Oklahoman, someone who has power and authority and pillar of the community, they treat them differently. They treat them very differently. In Oklahoma, if you drive through there with a gun under your seat, they pull you over for a traffic stop and check, even though there's no probable cause, they'll check, and you will be taken away. And I've seen some of the Oklahoma prisons. Some were built before the Mormons were built. They're old, no water, no toilets, no nothing. But anyway, here's what I'm saying. When the Oklahoma people decide to selectively enforce their laws, you're screwed. You're going to lose when the cop does his report on you. You're going to lose when it goes to an appeal to the Attorney General. To the district attorney to make a general decision of whether they're going to prosecute. And how when they prosecute, they'll appoint you an attorney, but it has 4 legs and a tail. So you just cuddle up to that 4 wheels or 4 legs and a tail and kiss his ass and your ass goodbye. You're going to jail. Now here's the trick, and here's what Oklahoma and Utah both do. If you get arrested in Oklahoma for almost any reason, it's a felony. It's a felony. You know, it's a felony to blow your nose and throw the paper out of the car. If you're convicted of a felony in Oklahoma, you can't vote. That's how they control the voting population. So if you're a Democrat and you're driving through Oklahoma with an Obama sticker, you might as well look into the next open field of bulls and decide which asshole is going to be your attorney. And the jurors, they'll all be white and delightsome, and they've been in Oklahoma for 700 years, and they've sat on every jury that's ever been done. And when you walk in, they look at you and go, you're a foreigner, you're guilty. And so now you can't vote, and now you spend a little time in an Oklahoma jail. They're big on executions too. They love to execute people, just like Texas. I had a friend, here comes Alpha and Omega to get my Coke. I had a friend in Oklahoma, and he was a member of the Mormon Church. And I was explaining to him the right to use deadly force. I said, you can't use deadly force to protect property. You can only use deadly force to protect yourself from great bodily harm or death with a reasonable suspicion. If someone's chasing you with a knife, you can shoot him. If someone's pulled a gun into your face, you can shoot him. If you've got probable cause to defend yourself, then yeah. But if you don't, you can't shoot him. And so he said to me, now this guy, he's as old as I am now. Wait a minute. I mean, you hear an Okie say that. He gets off the mattress of his truck, comes down. Let me tell you something. You're saying to me, if some, what do you call him, criminal, I guess, comes into my house and picks up a TV and starts running across the lawn with it, I can't shoot him in the ass or the head or anywhere. I go, no sir, you can't. You can run after him, you can grab your TV, you can put him down and call the police and have them come and arrest him for theft. He says, hell, I'll just shoot him. And he says this is the key, folks. There's not a jury in Oklahoma that would convict me. There's not a jury in Oklahoma that would not convict me. That opened my eyes up. That opened my eyes up to selective enforcement. Some of these crude, rude states like Oklahoma, Utah, some of these wild western states, they still have gun will travel. Utah, I think, still has the firing squad for capital punishment. Well, anyway, here's the point. If either one of these states, and especially Utah, wants to use selective enforcement, they will. If you're obeying the law in Utah, it doesn't matter. Somebody will make a false accusation against you, like the situation with the social worker, I guess, coming out to visit our family because I put a sign on my car that was suck art to Action Plumbing. And Action Plumbing said, well, we're going to call social services on your family and you'll know what punishment is. Do what you got to do. So when the little 22 to 26-year-old social worker comes out, she's still being molested by her father. So anyone that's got a penis, or even a little penis like the Bard, he's gone. He's gone. The report is going to show that he is a bad person. Then it's going to go over to the district attorney in the criminal section, and they'll say, yep, little weenie, but out of the pants weenie. So they'll take your kids to a doctor. Many doctors in Utah are pretty honest. Now, my doctor in Orem, Utah, when I was in college, David Hill, went to prison for molestation. I asked him, can I still see you as my doctor when you're in the prison? He goes, no, my license is gone. I'm saying that most doctors are professionals trained in good medical schools. And if you take your child to a doctor, they're not going to report bruises, they're not going to report malnutrition, they're not going to report those things unless they're true. Sexual conduct, etc. They're not going to report them. But it doesn't matter. Because the social worker and the DA will say, inconclusive. Goodbye, Bard. Goodbye, Bard. So then you go to a jury. And a jury at the local level is obviously going to convict anybody that's not wearing garments. That's selective enforcement. And Mormons always say, well, where there's smoke, there's fire. But when they talk about Helen Mar Kimball, the 14-year-old, and Joseph Smith, and the smoke between them, they insist there was no fire. So there's smoke, there's fire, there's not smoke, there's not fire. So the Mormons have their own standards of cult behavior. Now, generally, if you're a bishop or stake president or some high official in the Mormon church, the moment you walk into any court, you probably will never get to court because the DA served a mission in the Philippines with you, so they don't bring the charges. But my point is this. Selective enforcement is very, very undemocratic. It's very, very much against the Constitution of the United States, and there's a lot of people that use selective enforcement. Now, I don't have details now of Missouri, down there where a white officer shot a 18-year-old black kid. The kid was acting obnoxious, but I don't think obnoxious means shoot his ass 6 times. If it had been a white kid, I'm not sure, I don't think he would have been shot. I really don't. I think that there's many classes of laws in the United States. If you're black, you better be in your house after dark. If you're black, I wouldn't be driving a car after dark. I worked for a black lady in Kansas City, Missouri, and we had to go to a conference. And she said, "Can we take your car?" And I said, "Well, we can. What's wrong with your car?" And she says, "We don't drive after dark. I'm black, and here in Kansas, you don't drive your car after it's dark. You will be in jail for some reason." I didn't know that. I was very young, probably 27, when I heard that. Now I'm pushing 70, and now it's true. There's 2 types of law. In Utah, there's laws for Mormons, members of the Mormon Church. And in Utah, then, there's other laws if you're an apostate or you're a non-member, if you smoke or you drink, or if you're in on a drug charge or whatever. If you're not a member, your ass is grass. You'll have to go through the appellate courts, and you'll lose at the Supreme Court. In Utah, the only salvation you have is going over to the 10th District Court, federal court, and there's a chance they will acquit you. The other thing that goes on in my house, and has for years, and I do this for the purpose of my show. I'm talking to you right now, free and open. No one's got a gun to my head at the moment. No one is threatening me at the moment, except Action Plumbing. I use this room and the other room, this room especially, when I talk to Mormons, when I talk to policemen, if I ever talk to a social worker, and every salesman that comes in this house, the deals are cut in this room. I've got one video system that's all infrared. He can be sitting here in the black of midnight, and that camera will pick up everything he says and who he is and a clear face. I've got another camera over here, totally different system. It's got 2 trillion megabytes of memory on it, recording all that I'm saying, all that goes on in this room. Then I have another camera over there that duplicates this camera from a different angle and does the front door and safety issues. And I'm talking to you now on an entirely different system, an independent video camera that has a 70, 70 zoom on it, a 1:70, and it records very well. So anyway, we make the deals right here. Now, it doesn't really matter in Utah. When I have sued people in Utah, I've had videotapes. They ignore the videotapes. The jury, the judge, they don't care. A videotape can clearly show that you were sitting here calmly and you're not swearing and you're being cooperative, and the social worker will write down, seems to have an attitude, some issues, some anger management problems. It's Utah. But I'm going to tell you something. I said this on another video the other day, and it's going to be one of my sayings, is I would rather die for something than to live for nothing. I'm not going to let the Mormons push me around in Utah. The police, the Mormon Church, the government, the Forest Service, I don't care who they are. I'm protected under the Constitution of the United States, and I don't have to be a Mormon. They're going to punish me. They're going to key my car. They're going to slit my tires. They're going to put death threats. I had death threats in my mailbox not too long ago. They're going to do it the legal way or the Danite way. Your ass is grass. Grab a bull's ass and start to kiss it, because there's your 4-hoofed attorney that's going to be defending you. That will say, just plead guilty. You're so old, life only means 5 years to you. So anyway, selective enforcement is very, very heavily practiced in Utah. I'll give you 2 examples. it's against the law in this city I happen to be sitting in to place place private signs on public fences. Well, there's a place down the road here that you go around a rotary and there's like 8 signs, 5 signs, whatever, announcing everything in the world. And I never said anything as long as it was, you know, boys football and girls soccer and the tennis group. It was all non-profit. Well, pretty soon some of the profit corporations started advertising on a public fence. So I went down to, I can't keep a straight face because a city manager or a mayor in Utah, they may have 2 legs or 4. You will never know till you go to their office. So I went to the mayor and I said, hey, you know, I'm not trying to be an ass here, but at the same time, you and I know that an old lady puts a garage sale sign up for the weekend. That ain't no big deal. But when they post it on a fence and a poster that's 2x4 and tied onto the fence, you should go down and take it down and call them and say, hey, that's against the ordinance. He says, well, our ordinance is driven by complaints, not by the law. It's driven by complaints. And you're only one complaint. So we're not going to enforce it. There it is. So he calls his sign man in, and I talk to the sign man. Why don't you pull those signs down? They're obviously illegal. So, well, we've been doing it for years and years and years. And I said, well, the blacks never had the vote for years and years. Did that make it right? And he goes, well, no, but our system is complaint driven. And you're only one man. Oh, God. There's the intelligence. There's the intelligence. If they got 10,000 complaints, they would take the sign down. The law is not the law in Utah. The law is how the local officials interpret the law. And I'll give you another example. You saw my BYU hat. One of the flags on my Bardmobile blew off. I glued him on now. So I went into the dealership and they have a bunch of flags there, and I walked over and I said, would you mind if I have a free flag? And the guy looks at me. Now he's about my age. He's about 3 years older than I was. He looks at me and he says, well, anyone wearing a BYU hat can have a free flag. I said, thank you, sir. I got my flag and left. Now, if I hadn't had a hat on, if I'd had a Utes hat on, or an atheist or a gay hat, the rule and the policy of the agency would be no. We don't give out flags. I see it every day in Utah. If I put my BYU hat on, I'm treated like Goldfinger. If I don't have anything BYU on and you can't see my garment happy face here, I'm treated like shit. When I go into Desert Industry now, I know my little friend Ann threatened my ass and said if I get kicked out of DI, I don't know. She threatened to do something. I don't even know what it is. I'm so old, you could do anything to me, and I wouldn't know if it was good or bad. So anyway, I wear my BYU hat over there now 4 times since Ann threatened me. Anna. So, I've never been stopped. I can hear all of the cameras on their pivoting towards the BARD, but no one comes up, no one says anything, and I don't say a word to any human being in Desert Industries. So anyway, the little tripod that is on with my camera, that came from DI. It doesn't stand, it only stands this high. It doesn't stand any higher, but I figured at my age, that's as high as anything stands, so it's good. So I buy them for $2. Anyway, I want you to know, in Utah, the law is not the law. The law is written, but it is interpreted by the local and city and county and state judges and officials. And it can say anything they want it to say. And if they don't like your ass, your ass is grass in Utah. So you got to keep your car registered really good, and good insurance. All those things don't matter. You get pulled over, you got a brand new car. And I have to correct something. When I showed you the Bard machine, I said I loved my 2011 Hyundai. I'm so demented. I'm totally demented. That was my RAV4. The 2011 Hyundai was at home, so I don't even know what car I'm driving. I have no idea, but I do know they're insured, and I do know that the comprehensive and collision is right down to zero. If they key my car, do the tires, whatever, it's paid for. So anyway, be aware, if you live in Utah, if you come from Utah, or you're going to drive through, boy, don't drive through with a gun under your seat. And again, your gun laws of concealed weapons and whatever are, again, selective enforcement. So anyway, I just wanted to do this quick little video doing it out here. It's going to take me a while to get it up. When I use... I'm not going to comment on that. I'm just going to say health in the navel, marrow in the bones, strength in the loins and the sinews, power in the priesthood, be upon me and upon my posterity through all generations of time and throughout all eternity. The Bard's gone.